don't let someone make you feel bad for cutting them off for good. So basically, I got inspired to make this video due to my own my own experience. So I had to cut off a few family members. I've been cut off a lot of family members for years now, but as of recently, I had to cut off a few. They're really family friends because they're not related to me by blood, but even the ones that are related to me by blood, they were no good for my mental health and well-being and my overall peace of mind. So they got cut off a long time ago. It's been years, and this video is just basically a reminder to not let people make you feel guilty about doing that, because you have to do whatever is best for you, in your life, and you have to look out for your mental health and well-being, especially if you have, like for me, I have, as you guys may know, endometriosis/dysmenorrhea. So it's a reproductive and overall body condition. Dysmenorrhea is a reproductive condition. It's a condition that affects the reproductive system of females. And then endometriosis, that's the overall body condition, and it also affects reproductive. So like stress can just exacerbate, my symptoms. So yeah, I have to do, what I need to do. And that if that includes cutting family members off for good, then that's what it is, and that's how it should be for you guys as well. If anyone is too much for your mental health and well-being and your overall peace, don't allow them to, infest your life, with their negativity. Because my reason for doing that, for cutting them off, is just them always being very negative and nasty. Like whenever they would have a bad day, these family friends, as well as my family members too that I've cut off, they would take it out on, me and everyone else, and I'm not going to tolerate or put up with that. You guys don't have to either. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Like, even if you don't have any chronic conditions or anything like that, or sicknesses that can cause, like a stress can cause for people to get rashes and to physically feel ill and unwell. So you don't want to keep people in your life that are just toxic and negative. As we all know, a lot of older people, because they grew up in a different time, they're a lot more angry about everything in which they've caused in the world. Like one of them being the economy is so fucked up right now due to, older generations messing it up. And this obviously goes for the older people, not all obviously, but, that are toxic like that, and that cause more harm than good. So yeah, if anybody causes more harm to your life than good, which, specifically to elaborate, if every time you have an interaction with them, conversation, it always ends up, in an argument, or it ends up making you feel, just upset or sad. Like for me, it was basically the family friends would always, every little thing they would find to they literally would just find stuff to complain about. I had to stay with them for a little bit before I moved into my apartment and, got back on my own feet. But the way in which they were acting, and again, I'm very respectful, so I didn't have any reason to take their anger out on me. But a lot of people are, jerks in a way to where they will take their anger out on you, whether they're having a bad day or not, but especially if they're having a bad day, because they think that you won't say or do anything back. But I'm sure a lot of people probably are aware of that. If you aren't, then a lot of people, they will, choose to pick on you, or take their attitude and whatever they're going through at the moment or that day out on you, if they feel or think that you're not gonna, say anything back to them. And then a lot of older people, as we all know, are very entitled. They don't believe that respect is earned. They think that they just automatically just have respect, whether or not they're disrespectful to a young person or not. They also assume that because they're older, that a younger person should just everybody should just automatically respect them regardless of how they act towards that younger person first. Because I do personally believe in respecting your elders, but not if they randomly disrespect me first, which a lot of elders do and are aware of, and a lot of them don't take accountability for and admit. But, it's well known due to the internet. That's why a lot of younger people, Generation X, and has been cutting off, and millennials have been cutting off, their parents, for the ones that have to deal with toxic parents as well as toxic family members or cousins. Like, just keep this in mind, that someone being related to you doesn't, all that means is just they simply are just a person whom you happen to be related to and share blood with in some way, shape, or form. It is, you're not obligated, and they're not obligated to have a piece of you, and you're not obligated to keep them in your life if, again, they're too much, and if they're a toll on your mental health and well-being, then yeah, you don't, and especially if they're physically abusive, if not only verbally abusive, and too much for you, but if they're physically as well, then yeah, definitely for your own safety, anyone would advise, like even a police officer would advise to, and a mental health professional, like anyone would advise to cut them off for good. Because family is not who you're related to, it's how they treat you. So don't think because you grew up with someone, or just because they're your sister or brother or cousin or auntie or whatever, that you have to keep in touch with them. If you feel that you need to cut them off for your own peace of mind and your mental health and well-being, remember that it is okay to do that, because you only have one life. And they say, life is too short to cut off people for good. But this one post said, they cut themselves off. It went, do you guys really cut off your family members and never speak to them again? And then you have a lot of people under the comment section saying they cut themselves off, which is a fact. So don't feel bad or guilty, because that just simply means they weren't meant to be in your life, because, if they cause nothing but chaos and harm, if they're harmful to your mental and or physical well-being, with their verbal and or physical abuse, you don't need that in your life anyways. You shouldn't want that, because it's not, going to help you at all mentally nor physically. If anything, let's say especially if you already have like mental health, like I already have severe anxiety, so I don't, that'll just again exacerbate my symptoms, as well as my physical chronic conditions, in which I already have and have had since I was born. That's why and it definitely helped a lot by cutting toxic people out of my life. Not just like, so-called fake friends and all that just wanted to use me for money. Though another thing to make for sure that the people in which you call friends, like if you see a pattern of them only talking to you whenever they need something, or, let's say, because me in particular, this one particular friend, I did cut her off for about 4 years, because every time she asked to borrow some money, and she would ask like for a lot, like 50. That's, to me personally, that's a lot to ask someone for $50. I would always have it. If I didn't, I would let her know. It's not about not having it, by the way. It's like the principle. So I didn't care if she didn't have it. It's just that every single time, there was multiple times where she asked me for $50. One time like 30. Another time it was more than 50, and I always would give it to her. But every single time I asked, she never had it. But that's the thing. I did know that she was able to. It just was being stingy. So be careful too with people in whom you call friends, and who claim that you're their friend as well, if all they do is use you for money, and most likely they're just using you for money, or using you for whatever, for anything free, or like a free let's say free meal, if that makes sense, like for whatever the case, whatever it is that they're trying to get out of you. Just make for sure to pay attention. Let's say if it's like a pattern, again, like if they're always asking for money, and then every time you ask they never have it, or especially if they're the kind of person that you call a